Two Brazilian nuns are going viral this morning after they dropped an impromptu beatbox and dance session during a Catholic TV program. The sisters were on the show talking about a vocational retreat when they brought up a song about being called to religious life. And this happened. Bruce is joining in too. They got the moves, haven't they? Apparently those nuns have been told not to beatbox before, but they just couldn't get out of the habit.
Wow.
Mic drop. Look at the moves.
You know what? Breakfast TV in Brazil. It's got something. It's got something.
Maybe we should get some nuns on the program next.
Every niche market we can get, sis.
The life of an influencer on the outside looks pretty dreamy for some fans. Millions of followers, brand deals, and trips around the world. But for some creators, that fame can come with unexpected consequences, including serious privacy and safety concerns. At this year's American Music Awards, Twitch streamer Kai Cenat was live streaming when a man appearing to be a fan approached him with his young daughter to meet Cenat.
We love Ye for being outspoken regardless, because it's America, and I think it's a great thing to live in a free country, don't you?
What started as a sweet moment quickly turned when the man tried to make a political statement about Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, on the live stream.
You really hopped on my stream, knowing my influence.
Yeah.
So come on here and say that.
I think he's a great guy that at the end of the day...
I'm gonna politely ask you, get out of here, guys.
Stream sniping is when someone uses a creator's live stream to track them down in real life, and it's becoming more common.
Destiny made you. Loser.
During a stream at the Democratic National Convention, political streamer Hassan Piker was approached by a fan of another political live streamer, Destiny. The moment highlights just how easy it is for strangers to locate and confront creators in public, even in more subtle ways. Now, that's just one example of how influencers are finding themselves in uncomfortable, even sometimes dangerous situations. Days earlier from Cenat's situation, family content creator Emily Kaiser was thrust into the spotlight after a tragic incident at her home in Chandler, Arizona. On May 12th, first responders arrived to perform medical aid to a 3-year-old who was found unresponsive in the pool by people at the home. He was taken to the hospital in critical condition and later airlifted to Phoenix Children's Hospital. Without any public statement from Kaiser, fans quickly identified the home as hers, matching news footage to old videos from her page. People offered condolences while some continued analyzing those old videos, questioning whether enough safety measures were in place.
I want to get your guys' opinions on what your favorite pool safety things are.
Users even dug up clips where Kaiser asked for pool safety recommendations and comments where she said a pool fence was eventually part of the plan. When users found death records confirming her oldest son's passing on May 19th, speculation only grew. Kaiser has not spoken publicly about it, but she recently turned off comments on her page and her husband made his account private. Social media may look polished, but it can also open the door to criticism and invasion of privacy. One police officer suggests on LinkedIn all creators taking precautions like using PO boxes and avoiding real-time location sharing.
When you think of Saudi Arabia, maybe two things come to mind: oil and pretty strict rules on women. But when we were recently there, we saw that things are changing a lot.
Better now, we have a lot of chance. We like working in the different place, manager, CEO, project manager, now we're driving.
Women aren't forced to cover their heads or their faces anymore. 36% of the labor force is women.
I have a great job actually.
The government's allowed these changes to happen. It's part of a big push to change the country and transform the economy so it doesn't have to rely so much on oil. That means tapping into all of the skills that women bring to work.
I feel so secure and so safe here in a way that I haven't felt anywhere else. I do see that there's an amazing future happening and it's unfolding right in front of us. I'm excited to see how this goes.
Still, Saudi Arabia is a long way from a completely free place. Any political criticism is still considered dangerous, and many laws still favor men. But for a lot of the women we talk to, the changes in just a few years are really significant, and they give them
hope. In the
hope.
sessions today, I listened to the Honorable Prime Minister, and he highlighted AI as a very important factor and an enabler. AI is as important as it is for us in Saudi Arabia. Just recently, our Crown Prince announced launching a company. It's a PIF company. It's called Humane. And it manages the whole streamline that includes data centers, it includes infrastructure and what have you. And we're already collaborating with the big names such as Amazon, what have you. And we hope to be a hub for AI. So this is possibly a potential area for us to collaborate.
Recent development efforts to bring about an end to hostilities between Russia and Ukraine seem to have all but fallen through. The Kremlin has firmly rejected a proposal by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky for a three-way summit with U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. The Kremlin made clear that no such summit would take place unless, quote-unquote, concrete agreements are first reached in lower-level negotiations. Now, this comes after Volodymyr Zelensky expressed openness to any format of talks, bilateral or trilateral. The Ukrainian president is in Germany, where he held talks with the new German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz. Merz has said that Berlin would help Kyiv develop new long-range weapons that can hit targets inside Russian territory. Zelensky has also urged NATO to invite Kyiv to a summit of the alliance in June, warning that excluding his country would be a victory for Russia. The Ukrainian president's diplomatic outreach comes amid ongoing violence on the ground, however. Russian forces launched a long strike on Kharkiv and its surrounding areas early today. The assault caused widespread destruction in residential neighborhoods with more than 10 direct hits recorded. Fires erupted in multiple locations, prompting an urgent response from firefighters working to contain the damage. One person was killed and several others, including a child, were injured during the attack. Beyond the devastation to the house and buildings, Ukraine's railway infrastructure also came under heavy fire. Facilities and equipment in Kharkiv, Donetsk, and Sumy regions were targeted, but no casualties have been reported, at least not as of yet. The deadly attack on Kharkiv comes amid reports that Moscow has deployed approximately 50,000 troops near the Ukrainian border. On the other side, Russia's air defense destroyed or intercepted over 100 Ukrainian drones over various regions. Trump posted on Truth Social that Putin was playing with fire and cautioned that really bad things would happen already if he had not stood in the way. The comments drew an immediate response from Moscow. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev brushed off Trump's remarks with a pointed counter. He said, quote, regarding Trump's words about Putin playing with fire and really bad things happening to Russia, I only know of one really bad thing, World War III. I hope Trump understands this.
King Charles III stressed Canada's independence as he delivered a major speech to open Parliament in Ottawa, set against U.S. President Donald Trump's repeated threats to take over the country. The 76-year-old monarch, who is Canada's head of state as part of the Commonwealth, hailed Canada as strong and free, but added the country was facing a critical moment.
Canada faces another critical moment. Democracy, pluralism, the rule of law, self-determination, and freedom are values which Canadians hold dear, and ones which the government is determined to protect.
The British monarch also said that Canada will build new alliances and seek out reliable trading partners and allies around the world while reinvesting in its military and Arctic defense.
Confident Canada, which has welcomed new Canadians, including from some of the most tragic global conflict zones, can seize this opportunity by recognizing that all Canadians can give themselves far more than any foreign power on any continent can ever take away. And that by staying true to Canadian values, Canada can build new alliances and a new economy that serves all Canadians.
King Charles's remarks come after Trump's Golden Dome threat. On Tuesday, Trump offered Canada to join his proposed Golden Dome missile defense system for free if the latter joins the U.S. otherwise. Trump said it would cost Canada $61 billion to be part of the system. Canada has expressed interest in joining the missile system, but has rejected any loss of sovereignty. Trump announced plans for the Golden Dome system a week ago, saying it would eventually cost around $175 billion and will be operational by the end of his term in 2029. In addition to his annexation threats, Trump has also launched tariff wars, particularly targeting Canada. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has affirmed Canada is not for sale and has vowed to define a new economic and security relationship with the U.S.
Well, the U.S. president did not respond directly to today's throne speech, but did post this online after. On Truth Social, Trump wrote, "Canada very much wants to be part of our fabulous Golden Dome system. It will cost $61 billion equivalent to more than 84 billion Canadian, if they remain a separate but unequal nation. Adding it will be $0 if they become our cherished 51st state." Trump ended with, "They are considering the offer." Mark Carney's office was quick to respond, writing, "The Prime Minister has been clear at every opportunity, including in his conversations with President Trump, that Canada is an independent, sovereign nation, and it will remain
President
one."
Trump is again floating the idea of making Canada the 51st state, this time with a sales pitch tied to the new Golden Dome missile defense system. Donald Trump claims Canada is open to the offer, but the new Canadian Prime Minister, not so much. In a post on his Truth Social on Tuesday, Trump wrote, quote, "I told Canada, which very much wants to be part of our fabulous Golden Dome system, that it will cost $61 billion if they remain a separate but unequal nation, but will cost $0 if they become our cherished 51st state. They are considering the offer." That post came just a week after Donald Trump unveiled the $25 billion plan, calling it essential to protect the homeland. It also landed the same day Britain's King Charles III addressed Canada's Parliament, making a not-so-subtle statement about national sovereignty.
The Prime Minister and the President of the United States, for example, have begun defining a new economic and security relationship between Canada and the United States, rooted in mutual respect and founded on common interests, to deliver transformational benefits for both sovereign nations.
The King also emphasized Canada's military investment plans, rebuilding, rearming, and reducing reliance on U.S. defense. Later, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney told CBC he hopes to sign a major European defense rearmament plan by July 1st to reduce the country's dependence on the United States for military protection. At a recent White House meeting with President Trump, Carney made his position clear. Canada is not for sale.
I'm looking out for the country and for Harvard. I want Harvard to do well. I want Harvard to be great again, probably, because how could it be great? How could it be great when you have Harvard announced 2 weeks ago that they are going to teach remedial mathematics, remedial, meaning they're going to teach low-grade mathematics like 2 + 2 is 4. How did these people get into Harvard if they can't do basic mathematics? How did they do it? I mean, people with 1,600 on their boards don't get in, and they're letting people in, and they're bragging about how they're teaching them basic mathematics. Where did these people come from? So we have to look at the list, and Harvard has to understand the last thing I want to do is hurt them. They're hurting themselves. They're fighting. You know, Columbia has been they were very, very bad what they've done. They're very anti-Semitic and lots of other things, but they're working with us on finding a solution. And, you know, they're taking off that hot seat. But Harvard wants to fight. They want to show how smart they are, and they're getting their ass kicked.
Staying in the United States, signs of a rift are emerging between President Donald Trump and his close associate, billionaire Elon Musk. The Tesla CEO is breaking ranks with the commander-in-chief by strongly criticizing his tax bill, claiming it undermines the work done by his cost-cutting team, Doge. In a preview of an interview with the media outlet released late on Tuesday, Elon Musk, who heads the Department of Government Efficiency, said he was disappointed to see the massive spending bill and its impact on the federal deficit.
I was disappointed to see the massive spending bill, frankly, which increases the budget deficit, not just decreases it and undermines the work that the Doge team is doing.
Elon Musk's comments appear to place him at odds with the U.S. president, who has heavily promoted the legislation officially called, quote unquote, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. The package extends President Trump's 2017 tax cuts, increases border security spending, adds work requirements to Medicaid, and reduces clean energy tax credits. Now, according to the Congressional Budget Office, the tax provisions alone will add $3.8 trillion to the deficit by 2034. Last week, the U.S. House passed the bill by a single vote, sending it to the Senate for final approval.
Our One Big Beautiful Bill fulfills the mandate for change we were given last November. It allows President Trump to continue his successful border security and deportation operations by investing in more Border Patrol agents and ICE officers, funding the continuation of the border wall, and equipping our men and women on the front lines with the tools they need to keep us safe.
But while cutting some social spending, the bill has attracted strong criticism from deficit hawks. And Elon Musk, who has long claimed that the U.S. would go bankrupt if the deficit was not reduced, appeared to echo that criticism during the interview set to air on June 1st.
I think a bill can be big or it can be beautiful, but I don't know if it can be both. My personal opinion.
Now, this isn't the CEO's first public break from the White House. In fact, it follows his earlier attacks on the administration's trade policy, calling economist Peter Navarro a moron and quote-unquote dumber than a sack of bricks. It also comes after Musk reportedly clashed with some cabinet secretaries over cuts made by Doge to many of their agencies. And the efficiency initiative he heads has also come under scrutiny itself. Now, while it claims to have saved $175 billion, media reports found many of those savings from Doge could not actually be verified, pointing to duplicate entries and inflated estimates. The initiative has also been challenged in court over its methods and lack of transparency. And now Elon Musk, who poured nearly $300 million into supporting President Trump and Republican candidates last election cycle, has said he is disappointed with the spending and will be doing a lot less on political campaigns going forward. He's now opting to spend more time at his businesses, especially Tesla, which has suffered a sales slump caused in part by his association with President Donald Trump's administration. But with his very public criticism, the once unbreakable Trump-Musk partnership is now showing clear signs of strain. And with both men wielding immense political and financial clout, their next move could shape the direction not only of U.S. policy, but the Republican Party for years to come.
ביומיים האחרונים אנחנו מבצעים תפנית דרמטית לקראת הכרעה מוחלטת של החמאס. אנחנו לוקחים מהם את ההשתלטות על חלוקת המזון ברצועה. זו מכונת הכסף שלהם, זה מה שבונה את צבא הטרור שלהם, וזה מה שמחסל להם את היכולות השלטוניות. חיסלנו עשרות אלפי מחבלים, חיסלנו את דף, הנייה, יחיא סנוואר,
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says his military has eliminated Hamas Gaza chief Mohammed Sinwar. However, the IDF says it's not yet able to confirm his death. Meanwhile, at least one Palestinian was killed and 48 others wounded when a crowd was fired upon while overrunning a new aid distribution site in the Gaza Strip. Set up by an Israeli and US-backed foundation, it comes as the UN meets to discuss the worsening humanitarian situation in the enclave.
The foundations of life in Gaza, family, health, and community, have been shattered. The medical system has not failed. It has been systematically dismantled through a sustained military campaign that has willfully violated international humanitarian law.
Today marks the 600th day of the war.
This is breaking news coming in from Washington, and Trump has warned Netanyahu against striking Iran. The US president made the announcement from the White House. This came after reports said that President Trump cautioned Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in a phone call last week not to take any action that could jeopardize negotiations between the US and Iran on a new nuclear deal. Trump and other senior US officials have grown concerned in recent weeks that Israel might bomb Iran's nuclear facilities or take other steps that could undermine the talks. US intelligence agencies assessed that Israel could execute a strike within 7 hours of Netanyahu's order, giving Washington little or no time to intervene. The growing rift between Trump and Netanyahu is now prompting urgent, high-level talks between senior officials from both countries. The development also overlaps with ongoing nuclear deal talks between the US and Iran. Tehran and Washington are expected to hold a sixth round of talks to solve a decades-long dispute over Iran's nuclear program.
Back on Iran, did you warn Prime Minister Netanyahu against taking some sort of actions that could disrupt the talks there in a phone call last week?
Well, I'd like to be honest. Yes, I did. Next question, please.
Nothing on sanctions.
I did, yeah.
If Senate Republicans want to push
It's not a warning. I said I don't think it's appropriate.
What exactly did you tell him? Did you
I just said I don't think it's appropriate. We're having very good discussions with him, and I said I don't think it's appropriate right now. Because if we can settle it with a very strong document, very strong, with inspections and no trust. I don't trust anybody. I don't trust anybody. So no trust. I want it very strong where we can go in with inspectors. We can take whatever we want. We can blow up whatever we want, but nobody getting killed. We can blow up a lab, but nobody's going to be in the lab, as opposed to everybody being in the lab and blowing it up, right? Two ways of doing it. Yeah, I told him this would be inappropriate to do right now because we're very close to a solution. Now, that could change at any moment, could change with a phone call. But right now, I think they want to make a deal, and if we can make a deal, save a lot of lives.